Now, this is where I'm quite scared because we're going to struggle. Well, I'm going to struggle. I know you've done your homework, Mr. Khan. We're going to go through Streets Will Never Forget African edition, all-time edition as well. Main rules again, if we're doing six aside, one player per nation, so we can't have players from multiple nations as well. We're both going to start with our wild card pick, so the best player we want in the Streets Will Never Forget, we'll start with first. And realistically speaking, obviously, we can't pick the same player as the other person. So this is going to be obviously more of a draft. Mr. Khan, you're my guest. You will go first with your special choice. And remember, one player per nation. And just for the audience as well, it's not related to their World Cup form, by the way. I know we've been talking about World Cup. It can be any form. It can be their club form, international form, whatever it is. So it's not about, this player never played at a World Cup. Whatever it is, it's absolutely fine. We're highlighting the amazing talent that Africa has produced over the years. And the Streets will definitely not forget these performances as well.
Oh, this is tough. All right, listen, I'm going straight in. My wild card, my ultimate best Streets Will Never Forget player, a super eagle from Niger, the Premier League's Ronaldinho, the man that still gives Gary Neville nightmares, and the man that just took over a style of play, and a man that could have played, I think, at a much higher level than he did. Of course, so nice. They named him twice, JJ Okocha. I just think that was absolutely it. The Streets would never forget, because when we fantasize about players of his profile, we often go to South America. We often go the samba football, learning to play the Brazilian way. And when you encapsulate someone playing as if they were playing on the play at the park or in the playground with their friends, JJ was the definition of that. He rainbow flicked Gary Neville. Obviously, not that hard to rainbow flick Gary Neville, but the fact is, a lot of people might try wild things on the training pitch, but in a match situation, to do it is 10 times harder. And that's why players, when they talk about other players, they go, he's phenomenal, he's wild. But to do it in a match is a totally different level. It's a totally different skill. And I think JJ was sensational. He played for Bolton. He played for the early Big Sam. And I feel like he could have played for a much better team than Bolton. But when he was there, he truly had people tuning in to watch Bolton games. He had the Reebok Stadium on the edge of its seat. And for that alone, JJ Okocha deserves a Streets Will Never Forget medal for sure.
My wild card is going to be from Morocco. He was a classic number 10 with the element of flair, with the element of skills. He was Adel Taarabt. You're the ultimate FIFA footballer and the definition of Streets Will Never Forget football. Unbelievable.
Sensational. When you think of Adel Taarabt, you think of half turns at Loftus Road, flicking it on the outside of his foot round the corner, hitting it top bins, going past the whole team. Sensational player who could have achieved it all, but it just shows you how hard it is to do in this game for sure.
Honestly, he's someone who honestly just brought joy to football, and like you said, for QPR in the Championship as well, to someone in the Championship to be able to do that week in, week out, when it's one of the toughest, most physical leagues in the world, in my opinion, going forward. It was just fantastic to really understand and to appreciate how Adel Taarabt came through, and he actually got a stint at AC Milan. He got to play at Fulham on loan once upon a time as well. Goalkeepers or defenders, you're going back to front now, Mr. Khan. Where are we going?
I'm talking about a player that has played for Rhodesia, which then became Zimbabwe.
You picked him, man.
I'm talking about the witch doctor man himself, the urinator on the posts, Bruce Grobbelaar, baby.
Representing Crew Alexandra once upon a time as well.
Let's go, Bruce Grobbelaar. That's my guy right there. And listen, for me, you know, we'll never forget Do the Grobbelaar with Jersey Dudek, what he did there. A lot of people my age maybe first heard of Grobbelaar from when that Jersey Dudek moment happened. But for me, there's an article for Bruce in 442. There's like an in-depth story just about his life, and it's a Q&A. And when you read that Q&A back, your mind is blown about how much someone can experience in life and in football. Just bonkers stories. And I feel like for that alone, being such a larger than life character, I feel like he deserves enormous credit.
I've got someone who I know for a fact is a definite Streets Will Never Forget footballer. If you remember this guy, you are a legend already. So his name is Essam El Hadari.
Oh my God,
Didier
he looks.
Drogba described him as the best opponent he's ever faced. He's played against the likes of Messi and Ronaldo as well previously, but he made his debut in 1993, literally becoming the first African goalkeeper ever to save a World Cup penalty.
That is incredible. Wow.
Shout out to you.
What a legend. I like it. I like it. You're educating me here. But yes, I do vaguely remember that. I do vaguely remember that. It's not like sticking out in my head, but I like it. I like it for sure. And listen, what he's achieved in the game, of course, is sensational. And listen, high praise from Didier Drogba as well. So any praise from Drogba gets my vote.
I'm looking forward to seeing where we're going next.
For me, Papi Cisse. But when you're talking about like streets we'll never forget, I feel like that half a season for Newcastle, he was just scoring all sorts of goals, the regularity of them, the size of the game, and he combined with Demba Ba to have like one of the Premier League's most memorable front twos. Of course, they didn't win loads of titles together, but they were like leading the way for possibly a golden generation of Newcastle players. Like when you talk about Johan Cabaye, when you talk about Hatem Ben Arfa, you talk about Demba Ba, you talk about Papi Cisse, they're Colaccini, Gutierrez. They had so many great players in that team. But I think Papi Cisse captured the imagination the most.
Nicely done, my friend. Nicely done. I'm going to need someone who's got a bit of gravitas about them in the back. I'm going to have to go for someone. This was a pioneer in his way in terms of how he kind of made it a lot more accessible for African players to play in the Premier League at the time. Centre back for Leeds United once upon a time. I'm going to go for Lucas Radebe as my South African delegate. Really looking forward to seeing how Lucas Radebe would do in this team as well. But like you said, he did appear at the 2002 World Cup. He was amazing. And he was one of the main kind of orchestrators to push for that 2010 bid. For it to be one of the first African World Cups, and it was the first African World Cup, which is unbelievable as well, and fantastic player to watch in his own right as well.
So I'm going for a man machine who dominated the midfield when he was on the pitch. Definitely a Premier League cult hero. Definitely someone that represented Cameroon to a high level, a Cameroonian legend, no doubt. For me, he's going to play at the back and clean up all the mess. He's the daddy. It's Papa Bouba Diop. He always had a great spatial awareness. He was always able to receive the ball in tight spaces and in space as well. But his energy in the Premier League was sensational. Like a person of his physicality and his engine could definitely play in today's game.
I mean, he was a fantastic box-to-box midfielder as well. Fantastic for Fulham, especially in the 04-05 season when I remember him doing it properly as well. Played for Portsmouth as well. What a fantastic player he really was to appreciate, and a player that we got to appreciate as a streets will never forget footballer.
He played in a really good Fulham team as well, but that Portsmouth team that he played in was sensational. Of course, we had Benjani in that team. Papa Bouba Diop is my rock at the back, securing our W for sure.
So I'm going for someone who started kind of his career at Portsmouth. He worked under Harry Redknapp, I think, at 2 different clubs as well. But I got to see him recently in Germany, which is good fun, and he's been playing as a bit part player for Hertha Berlin. Not a streets will never forget footballer, but he was someone who I thought did have that for a season or two playing for Portsmouth. I'm going for Kevin Prince Boateng.
Oh, Kevin Prince.
KB.
Yeah. Do you know what? He is definitely, he's one of those elite streets will never forget ballers. And listen, with a name like that as well, you got to get in there for sure.
Kind of there, like, this guy is so good. What a player to watch. And you're just kind of there, like, Portsmouth let him go to AC Milan.
Yeah.
Crazy. Absolutely
Madness.
crazy.
Well, listen, if you're coming at me with a black star, I'm coming at you with possibly one of the most iconic black stars out there, Baby Jet, Asamoah Gyan. And I just think Asamoah Gyan is the definition of a streets will never forget footballer. Like someone that was at the edge of glory, someone that was at the top of the world for a moment. He had the world in his hands.